Welcome back to Sledgehammer Horror, guys. I am Ken Sledge, and let's talk horror. Now, today I am joined with the amazing KB of KB Loves Movies. How you doing today, brother?
Doing good, man. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Dude, it is such an honor to be able to work with you again. The minute we worked together the first time, I was like, I got to work with him again. Like your aura is just so infectious. So
Thank you.
before we talk about why you're here, my friend, I would like for the people that don't know you to get to know you a little bit. KB loves movies as much as he loves music. Always been a big fan of movies and music together. A lifelong physical media collector and a DJ, currently sharing that love through his popular series on YouTube, The Conversation. So, how long have you been a DJ, or how long were you a DJ? I'm sorry.
I I remember playing music, 70s parents, they'd have their little house parties or whatever. And as soon as my dad saw that I got the routine of going and changing the vinyl albums, I basically became his gopher. And then after a while, he stopped telling me what album to put on. And I would basically pick out the music for the adults to hang out and drink and party to. So four,
That's awesome,
five,
man.
six,
And
all
from
the way up
there,
through
just
college after that.
yeah, I was gonna say from there, it just spun into a lifelong thing. And I think I'm with you. I love music. Music is something that helps get me through every single day. Something
Same.
that helps keep me comfortable, keep me grounded. And if you guys haven't, I strongly suggest following KB on social media and subscribing to his YouTube channel. If you need those links, they're not far. They're right down here in the description because on there he did finish his 31 conversations in 31 days for spooky season, and man, some amazing guests on there. Jill Gavargazian, so many amazing guests I'm seeing you had on there. What was it like doing 31 conversations in 31 days?
It got to the point where it was kind of like lather, rinse, repeat. And it was the most challenging thing was just confirming that everyone would be there.
Mm-hmm.
But once I got into like October 20th, 21st, the majority of them were live. A couple of pre-recorded. I had a community challenge one day and a guest appearance on a guest appearance on Dell and movies, or movies with Dell, I should say. And the rest of them were live. So it was kind of like, well, who am I speaking to tonight? It wasn't even like, oh, I have to do this. It wasn't a task. It was looking forward to the next guest. But I hit the 20s and I felt like it was just like a plane coming in for the landing. So yeah, it was great. I still can't believe I pulled it off. And I'm still watching horror movies. So, spooky
Right.
season continues.
I always tell everybody when you run into people that, in October that are talking about, oh, it's time to watch horror movies, it's time to watch horror movies. Don't look down on them or don't talk down on them. Let them know, like, hey, there's a lot of great Thanksgiving horror movies. There's a lot of great Christmas horror movies. There's a lot of
Hmm.
great New Year horror movies. You can just keep it on going and invite them into the community.
Yeah.
Bring them in. Make them feel welcome. Don't make them feel like an outcast because they were raised to watch horror in October. Like I
Hmm.
said, bring them in. The more we have here, the better. And your 31 conversations, I feel like could be a really big jump starter to let people know, we're
Yeah.
doing this in October, but it carries on into the other months too. So, what do you think the biggest takeaway from doing 31 conversations in 31 days was for you?
I think for me, it was just introducing. I mean, we like to talk about these film communities that we have, but we try to make it sound monolithic, but it isn't. There are people who are on YouTube. There are people who are on TikTok. There are people who have no social media, and they all love this genre, and they don't get a chance to interact with each other. So a lot of it was introducing people to other movie lovers, other horror lovers, and
Right.
getting to know them. And, like the evil Tyrone, people didn't know about him and his channel, and getting
Love
him,
him.
to find out about, I don't know, the guys from Dead Pit, whatever the case may be. And besides that, just watching and rewatching some great movies. Everyone had great suggestions. I don't know how many times I say, your list took me back. I think I even said that to you. Or, it was like, wow, I never seen that before. So I think those were the biggest takeaways for sure.
Hmm. And you brought up Tyrone, one of the greatest guys in the world. I love Tyrone so
That's
much.
my
He's
dude.
Yeah, he is definitely a sweetheart and one of the people that you just genuinely love to be around anytime you get to work with him. And we know that 31 for 31 pretty much is over, but do you have anything coming up on the channel that people can be looking forward to?
Well, I always have something brewing in my head. Like today, I thought of something called crossing streams. So, you have your live stream over here, kind of like what I was just mentioning, and, bringing it together with someone else who has a live stream over there, but you see they don't follow each other or they don't like each other's videos. Get them in some sort of thing like that and just have a conversation about a movie or specific topic, something that's hot and current. I'm still watching movies. I'm still in the genre, so there's always something popping up.
Well, the way that I heard it, you're never supposed to cross the streams. That's what Econ told me. So
Exactly.
I love it, man. I love it. So, like I said a little bit ago, guys, if you haven't already, please subscribe to his channel. Please follow him on social media. All the links are in the description. That's the best way to keep up to date on all the amazing things he's going to have for us in the future. So, we know that what you got coming up. Hopefully, we can get crossing streams very soon. I think that would be really dope. Um, but now, my friend, I would like to go back to the past and talk about what got you started in the horror genre, your first horror movie, and this one is going to be a blast. KB, your first horror movie was.
1931's Dracula.
I just rewatched this movie again. Carl Lemieux directed it. Bela Lugosi. This is just such an amazing movie, man. Like we always gush about the Universal monsters and what they mean to us and how great those movies were, and then you take a break from them for a while, and then you go back revisit them, and you're just like, some of it's goofy, obviously, because they didn't use any type of special effects or anything. Everything was practically done, but damn, is this movie so good. Like it's so good and so well acted and so well directed, and I'm a big fan of this film. I really am. Creature has always been my favorite of the Universals, but this movie is just so well done, and Bela Lugosi encapsulates everything to me that Dracula is. He's sexy, he's scary, he's seductive, he is just like the prototypical Dracula. And I know it's kind of funny to say, but I mean, you go on to what to like the other Draculas. Why can't I think of it? You had the Universals, and then the
Hammer horror.
Hammer. Yeah, the Hammer. I'm sorry, the
Yeah.
more gothic. I'm so sorry for that, guys. But you had like the Hammer Draculas, and it was still the same thing, but nothing really encapsulated what Bela Lugosi was able to do as Dracula, in my opinion. So, do you remember
Yeah.
about how old you were the first time you had seen it?
Well, I would have to go back. There was I grew up in New York, and on Channel 9 WOR, they had a midnight Saturday night thing called, funny enough, Fright Night. Fright Night on Channel 9. And
Yes.
the opening showed you different people from different horror movies.
I bid you welcome.
So you had Lugosi and you had the various Universal monsters and you had other creatures from different movies, but you never knew what movie you were going to watch until it started. No hosts introducing the movie, giving you a recap. No, just right into the movie. And the first time I turned it on, I had to sneak out of bed in order to do this. And it was Dracula. It was almost like perfect timing because they would show all these Universal monster movies. And it was just something about it was scary. I would say 5 or 6. It was scary, but still it was drawing me in because I wanted to find out what was going to happen next. And of course, I didn't get the full story at that age, but I wanted to see that guy and why he kept turning into a bat and so forth. I didn't know what a vampire was, but it was fun to
Right.
watch. It was fun to be
And
scared.
yes, and again, it really, really encapsulates what the Universal monsters. Dracula has always kind of, in my opinion, been the king of the Universal monsters.
Hmm.
And this is not obviously a slam at any of the other Universals, but he just always seemed like if they were a group, he would be the leader of that group. And I can see why, because it's such an encapsulating idea. Not only the idea of a vampire, but the idea of um, you know, uh, Renfield, in the movie. Renfield is great in this original Dracula movie,
Yeah.
and all the things that he does throughout the film. And, we know that you were quite young watching it by yourself on Fright Night, which I never get over because that's absolutely perfect. But do you remember which scene it was, KB, that affected you the most?
I know exactly what scene it was. So the first time that they had the slow dolly zoom onto his eyes, something simple and today nowhere near what we experience in movies, but that, like I said before, it was alluring. But as a kid, I had a problem with things zooming in on me Like, forget about 3D movies. When I was in single digits, no. I recently did a video for the Rad 9 movies that scared us, and I recalled a scene from Blackula, kind of related, and it
Yeah.
was the hallway scene where the lady is running down the hallway and she's running right toward the camera. That scared the crap out of me. So it was always like some type of motion toward me, because, you're still suspending reality. But when you're a kid, you're like, this thing is going to come out the TV and, attack me. And
Right.
the more they zoomed in on his eyes and he got closer, I'm like, he's a little too close to me on my little 13-inch black and white TV. It was like, you're the size of my head. You're coming to get me. So
Right.
yeah, it was, I think that was the moment where the excitement just turned to pure fear. But I kept watching.
Well, because he keeps that look locked on his face too.
Mm-hmm.
Where it looks like he's staring right into your soul.
Yes.
And that's the brilliance of this scene is you have, like you said, because I've always been that way too. Like when you have something that's running directly at the camera, that's always been something that's really freaked me out. But when you have a moment like this, it's almost like he's coming to you, like he's inviting you in, and you have no choice but to just stay there in that stare and in that gaze. So, a very powerful moment in a movie that is often overlooked. I don't think people really understand how impactful that scene was the first time that we had seen it.
And it's crazy, even to this day, a recent movie like Jordan Peele's Get Out, there's a scene where a character is running right toward the camera. And not to say I was scared, but you get that built up, that known anxiety from when you were a child, and you're like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? And then it's released. But for those few seconds, you're 5 or 6 once again. So it's amazing. It's amazing how it stays with you. Those fears and those moments of anxiety just stay with you.
And you feel it with Chris too in that scene when he's watching him run towards him and he's like, what are we doing here? What's going on? Like you're right. Even at that moment, he's taken back. I see this big dude running right at me. What am I supposed to do here? I love that reference too, because that's such another fantastic movie that I feel like in 70, 80 years, people are going to be talking about how that broke ground the way that we're talking about the Universal Monsters, how Get Out really broke ground. One of the scariest ideas of all time to me is the idea of the sunken place. Being inside yourself and not being able to control it, but watching everything happen. Terrifying. What a terrifying idea that Jordan Peele completely knocked out of the park. Great film, great concept, absolutely terrifying. So, with Dracula, obviously, this is a movie that has stood the test of time. We've gotten many remakes, many different reimaginings of the classic tale of Dracula, but which one would you say is your favorite tale of the Dracula franchise?
Ooh, wow. It's hard to say because there's so many different iterations of it. But if I had to go with one, I think what Bram Stoker's Dracula by Coppola did was just amazing, because you got more of the romance story, but then you still got the essence of the Count in it as well. So it's almost like, here's this man who's immortal, but he still has a weakness. And his weakness is love. And there's something that you could identify with in that. And then put it on top of all that. And my best friend and I talk about this all the time. Annie Lennox's song, Love Song for a Vampire, just really solidifies that, and tells the story of the whole movie just in that simple song. It's beautiful.
Sure. Well, and we talk about, remakes, requels, would you like to see them attempt a new we just had Renfield, which I thought was great personally. I had a lot of fun with Renfield. Would you like to see them actually do another deep dive and try to make a new Dracula remake of, going back to the roots, being absolutely scary, kind of like they just did James Wan and not James Wan, like they just did with The Invisible Man.
Yeah.
Was that one? I can't remember.
Like the retelling with Elizabeth Moss and all that?
Yes, I keep brain farting on who did these films. I don't know. I couldn't think of Hammer Horror. Now that's just driving me nuts. But
Lee
was
Winnell.
it Lee Winnell? Yeah. Lee Winnell and James Wan. That's my fault. Misconception there. I confused my song,
the
guys.
two of them together, always.
Right. Either way, Lee Winnell did an amazing job on that Invisible Man
Yeah,
reimagining. I thought the movie was absolutely fantastic, and I'm sorry, everybody. I don't know why I keep brain farting tonight. It must be just one of those days, so I apologize
it's all good,
deeply.
brother.
I promise you, I know my Hammer horror, and I know Lee Winnell's in it. So I'm
I'm sure you
really,
do,
really
probably
sorry this
better
is
than
happening
me.
tonight. But would you like to see them, attempt a reimagining of Dracula in that vein today?
This is going to shock a lot of people because I did an instant reaction of this movie and I kind of poo-pooed on it. But I will say, I would like to see where they went with the last voyage of the Demeter once Count Dracula got to England, and
Sure.
just continue the story, like continue the next chapter from there after he fully formed and everything like that. Bring it back to the original novel and then just
Yeah.
make it as hyper violent as you can in modern day. I think
Yes.
that would just be sick. I would love to see not even a retelling because you're going back to source material here, which a lot of people don't know. Even with Demeter, that is true to the story. I actually read that chapter
Mhm.
before going to see the screening of the movie the next day. The place where I got COVID, I might add. But I don't know. I think they could do so much more with that story just by telling the next chapter. So I would like to see more of that style, maybe a little better edited, but just to continue that story and just bring it back to the original concept and just go all out with modern technology on it.
I agree. I would love to see a reimagining or a retelling, or like you said, even the Demeter finishing that chapter. Because, like you said, I don't think a lot of people know that chapter is a captain's log in the book.
Mm-hmm.
That comes directly from the book. So I could see them taking that to the next chapter and continuing the story once we have Dracula in a full human form. Because you got to get that sexy human form in order to seal
Yeah.
it for me. But
Yeah.
and we talked about Dracula and what Dracula means to you being your first horror movie. But now I want to throw a little bit of a curveball at you here for a
Sure.
second, my friend. My little buddy Ghostface is here as always, and he has a question for you. What's your favorite scary movie, KB? What is your favorite horror movie of all time?
I am a Fred head. So please give me Nightmare on Elm Street, the original. Give it to me on 4K because it's overdue. I saw
Mhm.
the 4K transfer of it last year during October 1st. So I know it's done. I know it exists. I want all of them on 4K now. Stop playing
Yeah,
around. But
right.
yeah, Freddy Krueger does it for me. Once again, anything that could possibly happen in real life just gets to me. So someone who could attack you in your dreams, you got to sleep. Can't get
Right.
away.
Right.
So out of all the slasher icons, he is my favorite. It's the one I return to. The good movies, the bad movies, there are better franchises. I will admit that. Mr. Ghostface is probably one of them. But I will say as far as like iconic slasher, yeah, give me Fred all day.
No. And again, I've been on record many times saying if you take out the last 5 minutes of the original Nightmare on Elm Street, it's the perfect horror movie.
It is.
Um, I think that it's scary, it's inventive, the acting is phenomenal. Um, there's just the practical effects in that movie for it being as low budget as it was.
Mm-hmm.
Um, every single death in that movie, even though there's four deaths technically in the movie, every single one is so damn memorable. So again, I can't argue with anything you're saying. I agree. I think that there's better franchises out there. Child's Play being my all-time favorite, but it's hard to ignore the impact, especially the original Nightmare on Elm Street had. You have your
Yeah.
villain on screen for less than 7 minutes of the entire film because of makeup and budget, and he's still that memorable.
Yeah.
Like, and you look at the kills, the three main kills being Jesus Garcia's Rod,
Mm-hmm.
Johnny Depp's character, and then
Tina.
Tina. You have those three, Glenn and Tina. You don't see Freddy in any of those kills. Not one of those kills do you see Freddy Krueger. You see the waterbed. You see, the rope, or the bed sheet tying around Jesu's neck. You see Tina going up the wall. You never see Freddy in any of
Yeah.
those kills, and yet he's responsible for every single one of them. So, absolutely love it. Love the
Great
film.
writing, great writing, and
Yes.
great use of resources. People talk about the minimal use of Bruce in Jaws, but I mean, Freddy is right up there as well. I mean, can't
What's
beat that.
scarier than your imagination? You know, you have to, yeah, that's the scariest
Most
tool there
horrific
is.
place right here.
Right. So, KB, I've had an amazing time talking to you about your first horror movie, your favorite horror movie, and what these mean to you. But before I let you go, we always bounce back to the same question. We're going to go back to Dracula, and what we're going to do is rank this movie on a skull count. Now, we're not ranking it on acting, production, score, direction, nothing like that. We're not being critics. All we're doing here, KB, is ranking this movie on how much it affected you on your first viewing. So, 0 skulls being not effective, 5 being extremely effective. You can use half and quarter skulls anywhere in the middle. KB, what would your ranking of Dracula be?
Looking at it through today's eyes, I will give it 4.5 skulls.
Well, without it, we might not be having this conversation right now. Butterfly effect.
No, not at all.
You know? Right. So I said this at the top, guys, but I do got to repeat it one more time because it's my show. And we're at the end of the third act. The credits are about to roll and the curtain's about to drop. But before that happens, make sure you're following KB on social media and subscribing to the YouTube channel, all down in the description. KB, please don't go anywhere. I have a couple more questions for you. Everyone else, if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel more than you know. And also follow Sledgehammer Horror on social media. Our links are in the description as well. But until next time, keep talking horror, stay what you are, and we'll see you guys soon.